Alright, welcome back Vault Hunters. Today we have a brand new build for Amon. This time it's all revolving around the blue tree, ordnance damage, maximum action skill uptime, a little bit of melee and some serious durability. This one is a hell of a lot of fun. Took me a lot of tinkering to get this one to work though, but we finally have it in a place where I feel like it's powerful enough and it is a huge amount of fun. So we'll look at the skills, the gear, the specializations, and the firmware, and then you can give it a go for yourself. So drop a like if you enjoy this one, subscribe if you're new here, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so here's the skills that we're rocking. So we're a pretty even split between the blue and the red, because we're going for, it's mostly actually an ordnance damage build. Like a lot of the damage that we're going to be doing is ordnance, even though it's not from our ordnance, even though we will be making good use of that. So we'll just go from the top here in the blue tree, which is our main tree. So obviously we're taking the action skill there. Forge waves that we're going to be using as part of the action skill do ordnance damage. So the first skill is Wrath of Nature, so we're going to gain increased stats effect application chance and cryo effectiveness, which is doubled when our action skill is active. So it's 37.5 base, and that's doubled when our action skill's up, which is going to be a lot of the time because we're going to basically focus on having maximum uptime with our action skill. So it should be 75% for both of those when our action skill's up, which is absolutely insane. The next skill, I was tinkering between this one, Tail of the Comet, and Eternal, but this one's actually a lot more powerful than it lets on. So whenever we deal ordnance damage, so that's obviously from our ordnance, but it's also from our forge waves as well. So basically every single forge wave is going to deal additional cryo damage over time, because the status effect application chance is 75 from our skill alone, and our class mod is giving us 30, so that puts us over 100%. So basically when our action skill is active, any ordnance damage that we do is going to apply this cryo status effect. So cryo by default doesn't apply a dot, but this just makes it apply a dot, and it's 60% of the damage dealt over 4 seconds. So essentially any sort of ordnance damage is just going to be drastically more powerful with this one. It's super good, super powerful. The next skill is Warrior's Cup. So whenever we use a rep kit while the action skill is active, this is what I was talking about with the maximum uptime, we're going to partially restore the duration. So when our action skill's up, we just do the rep kit and it's going to restore basically a third of the duration, which is 20 seconds roughly. We're going to get 20 seconds back when we use a rep kit, and we're going to be able to use that pretty often as well. We've got 3 points into Ancient Ways just for a little bit of increased cryo damage. These were just leftover points, so you could swap these out, but it's just really nice because most of our damage is going to be cryo to have that little bit extra. For the sub trees here, most of our points, or all of our points, are actually in this middle one here. So we're taking Eternal Winter Augment. So this is going to restore action skill as well. So when our action skill is up, when we're hitting people with Forge Wave, it's going to restore 2.5% of the duration, but the good thing about this is you can basically indefinitely cast it. It's got no cooldown, so you're just firing forge waves constantly. So if you're hitting groups of enemies, your action skill meter is just going to fill up and it's just going to remain active. We've got 5 points into Icy Rage, so it's a kill skill. Whenever we kill with cryo damage from guns or status effects, we gain affinity stacks, and for each affinity stack we get 6.25% gun damage, and that goes up to 5. That's 31.25% if we've got maximum stacks. These ones do last for 30 seconds, so it's quite a while, and it's just good to have that bonus gun damage. We have 1 point in Northern Wind from our class mod, which is just an additional slow on gun crits, and it's doubled for our action skill is active, so it's 6% when our action skill is active, and the slow amount doesn't change, just the chance, so it's 25% slow. It's okay, it's not amazing. The next skill, we've got Age of Ice, so this is just going to increase our effectiveness against badasses and bosses. I think it's badasses as well, it says bosses here specifically. So when we freeze any enemy or just any boss we're attacking, we're going to be dealing 42% increased damage, and that's because we've got 2 points from our class mod there. And for the augment in this tree, it's Glacial Rupture, so instead of summoning Firewall, it's Glacial Rupture. We're going to swing our Forge Whip, that's going to deal cryo ordnance damage again, and then it's going to leave a big giant fissure that deals cryo ordnance damage in a hazard, which This one's really good, especially against armored targets, and the area of effect is actually pretty damn massive. It's just really goddamn good. No more skill points in this tree, but we do have 3 bonus points from our class mod in here. So when we hit fire, we're going to have increased fire rate but decreased handling, and while we aim is increased gun damage and gun handling, so we've got a little bit of variation depending on if we're aiming or not. For the secondary tree, the calamity tree, we've put 21 points into here, so we've actually got quite a decent amount here. For the first 5 points we've got a heavy plate, so that's going to increase our maximum shield capacity and our maximum overshield capacity, which that'll feed into another skill later on, so it's just going to let us have a lot more durability. This one, really handy to have. We've got 5 points into Wield the Storm, which is increased status effect damage and status effect duration, so that's going to affect this one here, which we'll touch on in just a second, but it's also going to affect our Tail of the Comet cryo status effect, so the one that's doing the status effect from the ordnance damage. This is going to directly affect that and make it 35% stronger, and it's going to last 35% longer as well. The next point, we've got Gut Punch, so melee damage and ordnance damage have a chance to apply a weakness for a duration. Weakened enemies deal reduced damage and take increased damage, and it's considered a status effect, so it will benefit from the increased duration from Wield the Storm, but it's not going to benefit from the damage because the weakness in itself doesn't actually do any damage, it's just a debuff. The melee chance is 60% and the ordnance chance is 30%. That's obviously going to be increased off of the class mod, which has given us an additional percentage, so I don't know if those stack up because our forge waves are doing melee and ordnance. I don't know if that means it's got a 90% application chance or if they work separately, but either way, this is going to be really easy to apply and it's going to just weaken our enemies and make us do more damage. We have 2 points into the best defense, so because we're doing melee damage on our forge waves, we've only got 2 points in here. They were just kind of left over, and that's going to give us overshield when we're hitting people with our forge waves at 6% ratio. We have 5 points into Bullet Storm, so whenever we apply a status effect, which includes the cryo one from our ordnance, as well as the weakness, we're going to gain increased gun damage, so that's 7.5% and a maximum of 5 stacks, so that is 37.5% gun damage, which is goddamn good. And for the last point, we've just put 1 in here because we've got 1 from the class mod already. It's actually not as great as you would think. You need the follow-up skills, so you would need There Is Only Red and ideally My Touch is Death to maintain the maximum kind of benefit from it, so that's why we've only put 1 point in here. So it's just a nice wee kind of bonus whenever we activate our forge skill. 12% bonus cryo damage on our guns and melee for 15 seconds. And that wraps up the skills in the red tree. So for the gear, the first piece that you're going to want is the triple bypass. So this one here is the large triple bypass. And it's got the on-use grant ordnance cooldown rate for 10 seconds by 50%, which is just really damn good. Obviously you can get different ones here, but you just want something that complements a build, so because we're using ordnance a lot, this one's actually really goddamn useful. So for the triple bypass, you'll find that on the back hive. So the back hive can be found just outside Zadra's backup plan fast travel point. It's the auger mine there, the claim it's called, so you travel to the end there, kill back hive, hopefully he'll drop the triple bypass for you, and you just need the good buff on there. For the ordnance, this isn't a mandatory piece of gear. You can really rock whatever you want here as long as it's pretty powerful. This one's just a Vladov with double barrel, massive damage increase and a damage radius, so it's like an explosive double cannon thing. It's just absolutely bloody brilliant. You can kind of rock whatever here just as long as it hits hard, so that you're getting the bonus from the ordnance cryo dot and the skills. For the class mod, this is the core component of the class mod, so it's going to alter our forge waves to deal melee damage in addition to ordnance damage. So the forge waves are going to be doing ordnance, cryo and melee damage, and there's an extra bonus that our melee attacks while our action skill is active are going to gain increased cryo efficiency and radius, which is okay, we're not too bothered about that. But the skills here are absolutely brilliant on this one. It can roll with different things. It will always come with the cryo damage. The second stat is the one that changes, so this one's got 30% status effect application chance, which feeds directly and perfectly into our skills with the cryo application chance, just making that basically always apply on our ordnance damage, and the 45% increase is just really goddamn nice. Problem with this is it's a world drop, so it's not got a guaranteed drop as far as I'm aware. If you're not having luck with it, you can try the Origo Vault Guardian. So the Origo Vault Guardian, I think he's got an increased chance to drop it, so if you're not having any luck finding this anywhere, I recommend trying here. So it's the Vault in the Terminus range, and you might get a better chance of getting it to drop from him. For the shield, we've chosen the extra medium, so this one is radiation. The nice thing about this shield is it's just got a massive explosion damage, so this one's 14,872 radiation, so it's good against shields, so high shielded enemies, if we're close to them, we're going to explode and do a lot of damage to their shield. And the bonus effect is when it's empty, it's going to give us fire rate and reload speed, which is just handy dandy. The extra medium actually drops from the Inceptus Vault Guardian, so that's the vault in the Fades Fields down here, and the Dissected Plateau, just in that vault, kill the vault boss, and hopefully he'll drop the extra medium. Bit of a rarer one, I think it took me a while to get this one, and it can come in different elements, so as long as you're getting something shock or radiation's probably your best bet for this one. And for the class mod, again, this isn't mandatory, it's just something to complement the build, so we're using Jacobs, so it makes sense to use a Jacobs enhancement. This one's giving us the 40% chance to ricochet non-critical hits, 25% gun damage, 25 or 50% accuracy, and 25% status effect damage, but that's only from the gun, so that won't affect our ordnance dot, unfortunately, so just nice to have. So just pick something that complements the build there. For the primary weapon, the one that we've chosen here is the Rainbow Vomit. This is just a all-around fantastic shotgun, but you want the particle to do cryo, so this one's got corrosive, cryo and radiation. It can come in different combinations of 3, but just make sure you're getting cryo due to the buffs that we're getting on cryo from our build overall. For the Rainbow Vomit, you want to kill Leader Willem. He's part of a quest chain, so you'll need to have completed the Enter the Elected quest chain for this one. You can find him here in the Grindstone of the Worthy in Carcadia, just down this right hand side here, and hopefully he'll drop the Rainbow Vomit for you. For the second weapon, we've chosen the Lead Balloon. This one's just really nice, it does a lot of explosive damage, and this one's got the Atlas underbarrel, so it's quite hard to hit people normally with this one due to the way the projectiles work, but with the Atlas underbarrel it's going to home in on enemies and it's going to make it super easy to do a lot of damage. It's also got the Jacobs, so we're getting a bonus there with a ricochet. For the Lead Balloon, you can actually find this on the very first boss that you fight in the game, called Splash Zone, all the way down here in the Coastal Bonescape, and hopefully he'll drop the Lead Balloon for you. He's very easy to farm, very simple boss, and you can get this in elements as well, but the one that we've chosen is just non-elemental, which is absolutely fine. For our third weapon, we've chosen the Rangefinder. This one is kind of optional really, all we're using this for is shield destruction, so the build actually struggles a wee bit against shields, but this one being electric, it can come in other elements as well, but the electricity effect here is just really good at ripping down shields. So if you've got a better shock weapon, feel free to use that as well, but for this we've chosen the Rangefinder here. So you can find the Rangefinder on Vile Prototype in the Windspear district, so up here in the Terminus, so the very kind of north section here, and he's over here at the bottom corner of this sector, the Vile Prototype. He actually has another drop as well, but hopefully if you farm him you'll get the Rangefinder. And for the last weapon, we've just chosen the Sweet Embrace, so this one is just a really goddamn good elemental shotgun. It doesn't have any kind of effectiveness at long ranges, it's a very close range weapon. We've got shock and radiation, so again it's just to deal with high shielded targets, and for this one you don't need to farm this or anything, you literally just go to Moxie's bar and tip Moxie. Of course, that's what you're doing it for, the gun, right? Yeah, it's always the gun, nothing else. Nah, don't be silly, don't be silly. And that's all the gear and the guns then, so pretty there's a lot of requirements here, some of them optional, but really what you want is the Rainbow Vomit and a good electricity weapon to deal with the high shielded targets, and all of the gear obviously mandatory except the ordnance and the enhancement, which you can sub out with your preferences. So we'll take a look at the specializations now. So for the specializations, we're kind of a wee bit all over the place, to be honest. So we've got 10 in all of the skills, that's just to unlock the follow-up skills. So we've got 1 into Daredevil, just to allow us to get the Now with Caffeine. So this is going to reduce our action skill cooldown whenever we use our rep kit. So basically, when it's on cooldown, because we've got the triple bypass, we can, if we've got multiple charges, we can drastically reduce the cooldown of that to get it back as quickly as possible. For the second perk, we've got in the zone. So when aiming, we're going to gain increased gun damage and critical hit damage, and that stacks up to 5 times. So 25% gun damage and 25% crit while we're aiming, and they're lost when you stop aiming. We've got 10 points into Gadgeteer to allow us to get the following 2 skills, which is Tripwire. Reduces ordnance cooldown rate whenever an action skill is activated, so we're going to be activating it quite often. Probably not as often as it would be if we weren't trying to maintain its uptime, but it's just nice to have that reduction there. So 25% is going to be refunded when we activate. And the full spectrum arsenal, so ordnance damage, is now going to benefit from increased gun damage. So from our skills with the cryo affinity and the other skill that was giving us gun damage when we inflict a status effect, that's going to feed into this at 50% efficiency. For the firmware for this build, we're running Guji FC and Gadget Ahoy. So Guji FC is action skill cooldown rate, action skill damage, and further action skill cooldown rate. So again, this is just going to let us use our action skill way more often, which the main component of the build is the action skill and maintaining the uptime. So this one's a bit of a no-brainer. And because it is heavy ordnance focus, our second one is Gadget Ahoy. So we've got 15% cooldown duration for the ordnance, just allowing us to use it more often, and 20% increased damage on it for the second point. Can actually sub that out, so if you get thrown as the last piece of firmware, so you can either put that on whichever one you don't want the Gadget Ahoy on. I didn't have it, so, and I've had no luck at getting it, so that's why we're running the Gadget Ahoy. But you can run the Get Thrown, which is 35% damage instead of 20%, so it's actually quite significant for only 1 point in your firmware, so that's what I would use if I had it, but unfortunately not had that luck. But that is the firmware that we're rocking for this one. But overall, that's the build. Definitely a huge amount of fun, definitely recommend that you check this one out as well. Took a wee bit of tinkering, but we did get it to a place where it's really goddamn strong. So if you've enjoyed this one, if you want to give it a go, if you've got any recommendations, drop a comment down below. It's always appreciated. I'd like to hear your feedback. Drop a like if you've enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new here. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.